everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's on the Pod podcast. I'm Dustin, and as always, I'm joined here with my brother from the same mother, Michael. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up?
Alrighty, today we're going to be talking about vampire movies. Movies like Twilight, Twilight Returns, Twilight Eclipse, and Vampires by John Carpenter. So I think we should just jump right into it. Let's just start talking
Twilight?
start talking about Twilight.
Yep. Movie's terrible.
You actually watched it?
I have seen it.
Actually, a long time ago. We're not actually talking about Twilight. So if you made it to this first minute mark, you'll find out pretty quickly that I'm a chronic liar. But I did have a friend many, many years ago who tried to convince me to watch the first Twilight movie. In his words, it's not a bad movie, just the first one. The other ones suck. And he tried to talk me into it, and I just never checked it out.
It's awful.
It's just one of those movies that it has that fan base behind it, and I mean, I'm sure it's probably a decent movie, but the fan base just kind of ruins it.
It's absolutely not.
Did you see it?
I tried reading the book for half a minute too, and that didn't work out.
Oh, so you have actually seen Twilight?
I have. I'm not lying. I've seen it.
I knew you'd admit to it. You've been trying to hide that for years. I knew you watched it.
No,
Anyways.
I've been very open about it, actually.
No, you haven't.
Just the other day, some guy came up to me on the street and asked me, "Hey, have you seen Twilight?" I was like, "Yep."
I didn't know Brad was in Seattle right now. Oh.
Yeah, except Brad never talks to me, so that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we are going to be talking about vampire movies today.
Hey, so when we were just talking about Twilight there, did you pop a chubby? Did you get a little wood? Huh?
I went from
that turn you on?
I went from an uncooked noodle to a semi-dry noodle.
It's so like my favorite parts about this movie we're about to talk about.
Oh, you got the mahogany?
Yeah, you got the mahogany? Get a little wood there?
I forgot what you were doing there for a second, but yeah. We're talking about John Carpenter's vampires. And what my brother is referring to is the lines from James Wood when he's talking to the priest in the movie. And when they're in the middle of, aren't they, killing vampires or, searching for
it kind of,
the master?
It happens a couple times. I think it's, one time at the end of the movie when they're going in to get rid of the rest of the vampires, he always just kind of asks them at random times of the movies, that get you a little wood? That get you a little harder there? Get a little mahogany? But the funniest part about it is knowing that his name is James Woods, and he's asking people if they've got wood. It's just so random, but it's funny.
I have a feeling it probably wasn't even scripted either. He was probably just
I would totally doubt it, because it comes out of nowhere.
He's like, "Hey, Padre, you got some wood? What are you talking about? A
little
mahogany
there?"
oh
my God.
This Vampires it's a really, really fun movie, and I hadn't seen it in years, and I forgot just kind of how cheesy and goofy the movie is. It's not a good or well-made movie, but it's just a really fun movie. But what makes the movie is James Wood. He is the best part of the movie. Him and Billy Bob Baldwin are probably the best parts of the movie. Because Bobby Baldwin just plays the counterpart of his who just...
His name is definitely Daniel Baldwin.
No, that's what I said, is Billy Baldwin. But
No, not Billy Baldwin. He was in the freaking Flintstone movies.
No, you know what I'm talking about, the Baldwin in the movie.
Yeah, Daniel Baldwin. I just said it 29 seconds ago.
Anyways, Babinzo Baldwin is in the movie, and he's kind of like his rough and tumble counterpart, I guess, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, but he turns into a big softy at the end of the movie, too.
Yeah, because he falls for the girl, who he, in the beginning of the movie, ties to a bed naked and says, "I had to make sure you weren't a vampire." It's like, oh.
Yeah, and then he smacked her, too. It was smack. And I was like, whoa, this movie must have been made in the 90s.
Yeah, he's
And it was.
just a complete dick to her. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna see what it's like to become a vampire. And follow this girl, because I'm Ben Bosway Baldwin.
Yeah, that little sequence though, that little goodbye towards the end between those two was a little light in the loafers, if you know what I mean.
We give you some wood, some mahogany.
Nope, not at all.
A little ebony.
No. But yeah, this movie timber, was definitely not what I remember when I saw it as a kid. But
what'd you remember?
Awesome. Huh?
What'd you remember as a kid?
I always thought it was like scarier.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was scarier. I knew it was gory because this movie was definitely like Gorefest 2019. But yeah, for some reason I thought it was scarier. I thought it was way more serious. But yeah, this movie is definitely joke after joke after joke. But that's how it works. It's fun.
It's basically John Carpenter towards the end of his heyday. Just kind of, I don't know, going towards his formulaic route. Because he had movies like Escape from L.A., which is basically this movie but without vampires. And then 3 years later, he made that movie Ghost of Mars, and then he really didn't do anything for like... Oh, I know he had the Masters of Horror movies and stuff and whatnot. But like, he really hasn't made movies since Ghost of Mars, Vampires, and then one movie called The Ward. So this is really just like him at the end of his little run from the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, I mean, you get to a point where you don't have to do anything. It's like you could tell he was doing this for fun. I think, like him and
that's what I'm getting.
I mean, all the other people that worked on this movie, like the special effects guys and stuff like that. You could tell, all these gore effects. That's just outlandish. It's like, hey, let's get a paint bucket of blood and just throw it all over the place, and that'll be the scene.
Yeah, and you basically throw in James Woods, who is basically the main character of every single John Carpenter movie. He's
one.
No, like holds no bar.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you meant James Wood was in like every one of his movies. I'm like,
no. I just mean that type of character.
That type of character.
Like the guy from They Live. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Yeah, it's called Duke Nukem.
Even like Escape from New York and The Thing. Like all the characters are basically the same person played by a different actor.
Yep.
And they're put into each one of his movies, and I don't know, it just kind of works. Like that kind of 80s vibe of take no shit, I'm a badass, and just here to have fun type of movie. That's basically what you get.
I had fun watching it.
I had fun rewatching it. Especially with Bobby Boucher Baldwin, or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, there was only one small thing I thought this movie was missing. Was like a really, really good, like, kind of old school rock star. If they would have had that person in the cast, I think it would have been the best movie ever.
I have a feeling that person was actually in the movie, but I have no idea who you're talking about.
Nope, he wasn't. He was in the sequel.
There's a sequel to Vampires? Is it Los
Vampires
Muertos?
2, Los Muertos.
I knew it. I remember you talking about it, but I forgot this ever existed. Was it?
Featuring Mr. John Bon Jovi.
That's right, Bon John Bovi. We're actually forgetting about one of the best character actors in this movie, too. His name is Mark Boone Jr.
Mark Boone Jr.
And if you know anything about Mark Boone Jr., he doesn't do very well in vampire movies. Because in about 10 minutes into this movie, he gets split down the middle.
Yeah, he takes a finger to the stomach, and then it goes all the way up.
Through his neck. So his head's still fully attached, but his body is split. And it's
and Mark Boone Jr. is one of those guys that you'll see his face, you will instantly recognize him as a movie star and not know his name. And shame on you for not knowing his name.
Most people would know him from like Sons of Anarchy, because I think he was in all of that.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was in
I never seen that
a
show.
lot of that. He played a biker, believe it or not.
Oh, well, that's surprising.
He's also the he worked at the hotel clerk from Memento. He's one of the bad guys in Batman Begins. And
yeah, it's kind of funny because I actually have never seen that movie before.
Which one?
I know.
Memento?
Yep.
What the fudge is
I don't think I've ever seen it. I've always wanted to, but
it's a great flick.
I know. I just Haven't had time. Jesus, get off my back.
It's about a guy. He really likes tattoos. So he just keeps getting tattoos of some of his favorite things, but he doesn't remember getting them because he has short-term memory. And that's the
I
whole
kind of
plot
feel
of the
like
movie.
that's not the basis of the movie entirely, but I think that sounds loosely familiar.
Have you seen it? Because I've seen it. And
Didn't I just say that I haven't seen the fucking movie?
Exactly. So how would you know what it's about?
Because I heard stories. People talk.
Oh,
I hear things.
Maybe you should hear different
What's,
things because you're hearing the wrong things.
What movie has Mark Boone Jr. been in that we've already reviewed? Without looking it up. Don't cheat. It should be very obvious, and if you don't automatically know, I think you're kind of stupid.
I remember you talking about him during one of the podcasts.
You're so dumb. You don't even remember us doing these things. Why do we even do this anymore? We should just pull the plug.
I mean...
Our 3 annual listeners are going to cry themselves to sleep, because this will be the last one we ever do, because you don't even remember the shit that we do.
If I had to guess without looking it up,
if you had to guess, there's no fucking guessing. You either know or you don't know. It sounds to me like you don't know.
It's either Buddy Boy, the General's Daughter, the
Collar
Flash, the Thin Red Line, I Woke Up Early the Day I Died, October 22nd? No, Armageddon.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna blow your mind.
Montana, The Game, Hugo.
It's gonna blow your mind.
Rosewood, 7. It was 7.
7.
No, the Quick and the Dead.
No, it was 7. Stop guessing.
The Paint Job. Delirious. Die Hard 2. Did we review Die Hard 2? Because he was in Die Hard 2.
Nope, he was, but we haven't.
He played Shockley.
That's fine. Nobody knows who that is.
I do. Haven't you seen Die Hard 2? He's the dude.
I have seen it, but it's been a long time. That's the type of, series that you either watch the first one or you watch the third one. You don't know whoever watches Die Hard 2, honestly. Nobody rewatches that.
Have you ever seen the made-for-TV version of Die Hard 2? When he says, "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon." Because it's probably the best thing. I think I've heard of that,
but I don't think I've ever actually watched it on TV.
It's probably the greatest made-for-TV edit next to, "I'm sick of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane."
Yeah, but I think they did that shit on purpose, to make it as stupid as possible.
Probably.
So that's kind of what made that funny. But actually, the Die Hard with a Vengeance, made for TV of it, which I did watch, because when that movie's on, you sit down and watch it, is when he was walking around the street with that sign on, instead of saying what it was supposed to say, it just said, "I hate everybody." I always thought that was kind of funny, because it's that's a cop-out. Why would people get so upset about a sign like that?
Yeah, Samuel Jackson comes up to him, he's like, "You're going to wear a sign like that out here? I hate everybody?"
What about people who like other people? You're going to piss them off.
Everybody in this neighborhood loves people. What is wrong with you?
Oh, that would have been funny if they changed that. But
Actually,
they didn't.
So, fun fact, did you know that Die Hard 3 was never supposed to be a Die Hard movie?
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be its own movie, and then with the success of the past 2 movies, I guess somebody decided to change it last minute, and they're like, "Well, Bruce Willis is in it."
Bridge the characters in.
Yeah, and then changed names and whatnot, and then connected the whole brother thing with the bad guy.
Oh, yep.
And then turn into a Die Hard movie. And I think it's probably the best Die Hard movie.
I was just going to say, I think it's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Of the 3 of the Die Hard movies that exist.
Yeah, definitely, because why would they make any more than the 3 Die Hard movies that have already been made? That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing. Saying they didn't.
They were 3 perfect movies. Why would they ever create sequels that nobody would ever care about or ever want to see? So, I don't even know why you brought up the fact that they're the only 3, because obviously they're the only 3 Die Hard movies.
Well, it's just kind of how I speak. It's my linguistic attitude towards stuff. I like to point out the fact that when there's 3 of things, that there's only actually 3 of things that exist.
Actually, it's kind of weird, because I'm looking on IMDb. There's a Live Free or Die Hard, and also a Good Day to Die Hard. Huh.
Well, to be fair, the 4th one was actually kind of decent.
Yeah, because they had Kevin Smith.
I was gonna say Justin Long, but yeah,
Yeah,
Kevin
Justin
Smith was
Long
in it
works.
too.
Yeah.
But
Or
it was
Ramsey
funny
St.
because
Ramsey.
you have to know that like Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis fucking hate each other.
Not on the set of this movie though. They
Not
began.
yet,
Yeah,
but
not
they
yet.
do now.
They
And
started to hate
that's
each
why
other
I love the movie Cop Out, because Cop Out is hilarious.
only because of the story behind it.
Yes. And because of Sean William Scott. He's pretty funny. Because he, like, robs places but then, like, poops in their bathrooms. And it's, I don't know. It just gets me.
And doesn't he like end up falling and breaking his neck in that movie during a robbery?
Yeah, he does.
And then he's just
like,
dead.
misses a jump or something. And it's like, oh, well, he's dead.
Yeah. Whoops. Anyways,
Back on track.
what we're trying to say is John Carpenter's Vampires, it's worth a watch. I'd give it a 4 out of 20. And I'd say go check it out.
Oh, that was a couple days ago. That doesn't work anymore.
Well, it's 4:22 right now, and you know what that means? It's 4:20 as well.
It's actually 4:30 p.m.
See what I did there? It's
No.
a marijuana reference. But anyways, let's see what Brad gave this score, or this movie. Looks like Brad, because we haven't done his reviews in a while, so I wanted
Well,
to
we
get
did
his...
it the last episode that we had.
Did we?
Probably.
I don't think we did. But anyways, it looks like he gave John Carpenter's Vampires a 10 out of 10. He said, the vampires were a bit freaky, but I really like James Wood's references to wood. Hey.
So that's like the consensus, basically.
The best part of the movie is James Wood asking about your mahogany. You know? Sprouting a little timber in the fire.
I don't know why you would put your dick in fire. That sounds bad.
Keeps away the vampires. So let's move on to our next movie. I don't know. Try it. Let's move on to the next movie. Trying to decide which one to go to, but...
Well, why don't we stick on the Mark Boone Jr. train?
Ooh, that's a good idea, mostly because I also just finished watching that movie and it's fresh on my mind. Let's talk about...
Well, you said you had it running in the background, so I don't know if that's the same thing.
Shut up. Let's talk about the movie Seven with Mark Boone Jr.
It actually did have vampires in it.
Did it?
Yep.
I don't think it did.
It did.
So we're actually going to be moving on to 30 Days of Night.
Which is one of, if not my favorite vampire movie ever. And I like this movie a lot because I'm gonna be one of those guys. Oh, I really like the movie because I read the comic books first. But I actually really do like this movie because I read the comic books first.
I am not a nerd, so I did not read the comic books, but I do really
They're awesome.
enjoy this movie. The thing because I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and it's one of those movies, as much as I actually do enjoy watching it, I always fall asleep when I watch it. Because it's kind of
has lulls, for
yeah,
sure.
But it's not like a bad thing. It's just a slower burn movie. But it's just one of those movies I'd always turn it on in the background. I'd always end up falling asleep. So I had it in the background today when I was trying to, because I fell asleep to it like 3 days ago trying to watch it. And I had it on the background today. And I forgot how like extremely dark and gritty some of the scenes are. Like the scene towards the end when he's cutting off his friend's head after he like got his hand stuck in the little combine thingy, whatever the hell it's called, the little crushing machine, and he ends up having to cut off his friend's head, and it's a really kind of just almost disturbing scene because it's just the way the effect is, it looks very real, and it's, I don't know, it's just kind of gross. And I forgot that about this movie, how almost realistic it feels.
Yeah, it's really dark, and I like. I think Danny Houston was one of the big draw-ins to this movie because he doesn't talk much in the whole movie, but just his whole demeanor. And I instantly go to the scene where he's at like the house where they've got the husband and wife or whatever, and he's like holding the dude up against the wall, and it's just like that. I mean, just thinking about being in that situation where you've got like vampires and like your wife is about to get eaten and you're being held by this dude just by his hand. It's like you can't do shit. That's scary.
Yeah,
That's scary.
he definitely carried the vampire portions of the movie, because some of the other vampires, they just look kind of goofy, but
Well,
his
yeah, I
character,
mean, it suits the artistic style that like was created from the comic books, like the weird teeth and the like their
yeah, the blacked out
their
eyes.
well, the blacked out eyes, but also, and it's I think some of this was actually makeup, but their heads and their faces kind of actually fit um the style that the comic book was written in, which I think was really really a nice touch because the artist that wrote the comic or drew the comic books had this sort of like distorted image of these people, and it definitely like it worked out and it played out in the film too. Because if you're looking at some of these people, you're like, well, that dude's got a weird shaped head, but it's like that's what they did in the comics, so that's why it's really really cool. It was one of those like awesome touches to the movie that I was like, it kind of brought the two together, even though they were completely like different tellings of the same story.
Yeah. Yeah, I did definitely notice, like, almost that their heads were, like you're saying, just slightly misshapen. Or I don't know if they just, like, made their foreheads bigger or something, but they look funky. Like, they don't look like real people. Which kind of gives them a creepiness to them, but it also kind of just gives them a goofiness to me.
Yeah, and that's like, it's part of that creepiness that, the movie is fun to watch, but it's hard to watch with the lights off, basically, because it's a movie that'll make you jump every time you watch it.
I don't know. I think I could watch it with the lights off, and I just end up falling asleep.
Yeah, well, that's why I said you gotta turn the lights on.
Another character in the movie who I really like, just seeing him in basically any movie, is Ben Foster, who's the prisoner in the little cell, who's basically
he's
warning people.
He's the human scout basically for the vampires, and it was unfortunate the way that his character played out in the movie because I thought he was the absolute star of the trailer, and his character like really drew me into getting excited for this movie when it was coming out. But then it's like, boop, he's dead. And it's like, well, fuck, he didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
but he's creepy beyond belief.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they did with... Did you ever see the Godzilla from like 2014 or whatever?
Yeah, the one with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, and he's in every single trailer, and he ends up dying 15 minutes into the movie. That's basically what they did with his character.
Very similar.
Yeah. But yeah, Ben Foster...
It's like, I thought Bryan Cranston was in this movie. What the hell? He's like already dead? That's stupid.
You go to the bathroom for like 5 minutes, you miss that scene. Oh, whoops. I didn't realize he was dead.
Yep.
But yeah, I really like his movies, and it actually reminded me, seeing him in this, that there's a movie that we haven't talked about, and I haven't seen in a very long time, but I remember it being very, very good and underrated. It's called Pandorum.
Ooh, I love that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a very long time, but I remember liking it as well.
Yep. That movie's awesome. That is a movie that you will find at any sort of like thrift shop, any used DVD store for like $1. It will be the best dollar plus tax that you ever spend.
Next to My Soul to Take.
It's amazing. And the worst part is that the critic reviews of this movie are terrible.
I thought critics liked the movie.
No, I'm looking at it right now. Metacritic is at 28.
What?
Let me check Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm pretty sure like people for some reason did not like this movie.
No, because I remember.
Yeah, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
When I was writing for that horror website when I was in high school, the movie came out around the time, and most people put it in like their top 10 of the year because the movie's fucking great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so underrated. Like it's one of those movies probably people have never heard of, but everybody that I've had like watch it, they thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I've seen it a few times, and it's great. I love that movie.
Lest we not forget, Ben Foster's best performance though is easily his role from The Punisher.
First of all, no.
Second of all, maybe.
Warcraft. Boom.
He was in Warcraft?
Yeah, he was Medivh.
I
He was
think
amazing in that movie.
what you're trying to say is his best performance was in Freaks and Geeks.
Was he even in that?
Yeah, he was in like 2 episodes. He played
Oh,
the
please.
handicapped guy.
Wait, he played Timmy?
No, he plays he's a handicapped character, and the main girl from the show feels bad, so she asks him to prom. And then she ends up making him cry for some reason when asking him to prom, and then everybody gets mad at her because she made the crippled kid, or not the crippled kid, the handicapped kid cry.
Well, that is pretty mean.
She didn't do it on purpose.
I do have to say, though, in all seriousness, 310 to Yuma is probably the best movie that he's done. Followed very closely by Alpha Dog, because he had that same sort of tenacity in both movies. I mean, if we're not talking about Pandora, of course.
310 to Yuma is actually a really great movie. I haven't seen that one in a long time either.
Oh, 310 to Yuma is fantastic. I love that movie.
But anyways, you know what else is a good movie? 30 Days of Night.
Yes.
I'm glad we can stay on track when it comes to these vampire movies. But honestly, I don't know what else there really is to say.
It just makes me never want to go to Alaska ever.
Well, that and the movie Insomnia makes me not want to go to Alaska.
Fair.
Have you seen Insomnia?
Yes.
Good, because it's a great movie. But that's actually another Christopher Nolan movie. That's 2 for 2, right? Or 3 for 3. We mentioned 3 Christopher Nolan movies. Dang.
We sure did. We're on a roll. It's almost as if that was like something that we planned.
I think if we did plan it, that would be Interstellar.
Whoa, man. I see what you Batman Begins with.
We already mentioned that one, so
Fuck.
yeah. Let's move on
I guess I'll just have to Dark Knight Rise out of here.
Yeah, and then fly off to Dunkirk.
And then Dark Knight when I turn off the light because I'm not going to fight. Because I'll be out of sight.
And you know what? While you're doing it, you can flip the lights on and off, make it a magic trick. Call it your prestige.
Ooh.
Hey,
I guess
that
I
one
could.
didn't even make sense. But anyways, let's move on to the next movie that our own father called, or in his words, he said, "This movie is like 3 different movies combined. I didn't like it." That is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Wait, who said that?
Dad, I remember watching this as a kid with him, and he was like, that movie was really bad. It was like 3 different movies just combined into one. Which, I mean, it basically is.
He didn't get it or something?
I'm not sure, but I don't...
Didn't Brad send in a score for 30 Days a Night? Did he give it a 30 out of 30?
No, it looks like he actually gave it a 10 out of 10. He said, and I quote, "This is one of the best vampire movies to take place in Alaska." And
I mean, he's not wrong.
I'd have to agree.
Technically.
I mean, there is a sequel to 30 Days a Night, and I remember it being quite terrible.
It is actually quite terrible, but I do own it.
As Charles Barkley would say, terrible.
30 Days a Night, Dark Days.
But let's move on to... you see what I did there? I gave you an inception of an idea. I incepted you. But anyways, let's go to From Dusk Till Dawn, which is one of
Awesome.
Quentin Tarantino's early scripts that was directed by Robert Rodriguez. It really is a movie that starts off as like a kidnap heist type film, and then all of a sudden halfway through it's a vampire movie, and it gets fucking insane. And when I say insane, I mean batshit crazy. You have Tom Savini with a little dick gun going around trying to shoot people. He's shooting vampires with it. You have I think his name is Fred Williamson?
Yep.
Yeah, he's ripping people's hearts out. You have Juliette Lewis. She's like trying to stab people in the heart, but she can't. and all of a sudden she just stabs him, and then you have that weird, possibly Korean kid who gets eaten, and then you have Harvey Keitel. This movie has it all.
When that kid got eaten, I think that was probably my favorite part of the movie because he was a ding dong.
And he fucking blew up.
Yeah, he
did. They weren't like, we're gonna try to be sympathetic to this character. Like, he's getting eaten by his own, or he didn't get eaten by his dad, but he ended up getting eaten after having to kill his own dad. He ends up getting eaten, and then he says, "Kill me" in the middle of it. So he blows the fuck up. It's just one of those scenes you're just like, holy shit.
It's kind of funny because we were just talking about John Carpenter and how he made his like fun, crazy, nonsense movies towards the end of his career. But Robert Rodriguez kind of chose a different path. He chose to start with them.
Yes.
Because this movie is absolutely nonsense.
Well, and it's great.
But it's awesome.
It's great, too, because, I mean, with, was it Robert Kurtzman came up with the story, and then Tarantino just kind of did the screenplay. So you have this B-movie idea, and then you have a writer like Tarantino throwing in his kind of spin with words and whatnot. He's always been good at creating characters and dialogue to fit those characters in kind of like unique ways. And like you're saying, you have Robert Rodriguez, who's just a fun filmmaker, just going all balls out crazy with everything. And then you have K&B doing all the effects, so it's just like the perfect little entourage to create a little B movie.
Well, any movie with Cheech Marin is going to be top notch. So
well, especially Cheech Marin playing 3 different characters.
Yeah.
He plays the pussy dude. We got applesauce pussy. We got young pussy, old pussy, hairy pussy. If you can't,
he's the border guard too, which is awesome.
Yep.
Because he goes into the bathroom and Juliette Lewis is sitting there like, "Oh, do you mind?" And he's like, "No." And then he kind of like sneaks a peek and just smiles like a total creep.
And he's the dude at the end that they meet up who's like, "So did you know about this bar?" He's like, "No, I just like the name, the Titty Twister. It sounded like a fun place."
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That movie's great. And it has like, what, 6 sequels?
Yeah, it's got quite a bit. And a lot of the sequels
and a TV show, too.
Are fucking horrible.
Yeah, I don't even think I've watched any of them.
Yeah, they get really bad. I watched about 20 minutes of one of them, and I couldn't make it through it. Which is a shame because it was directed by Scott Spiegel, and I really like Scott Spiegel. He's the guy that made that movie Intruder. He was one of the writers on Dawn of the Dead, on Evil Dead 2, and he's one of the producers for like the Hostel movies. He's basically in every single Sam Raimi movie. Scott Spiegel. He's in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, Texas Blood Money with Robert Patrick.
Yep.
I think I've been meaning to watch it. I have both the sequels in the little 4-pack or 3-pack that I got.
It does have Danny Trejo again, even though he died in the last movie.
Danny Trejo will never die in anything.
This is true. Did I tell you that when I was in LA, that I went to one of Danny Trejo's restaurants?
He has restaurants?
Yeah, he owns a taco shop and a vegan donut shop.
Huh.
Yeah.
Those are 2 completely different sides of the spectrum.
Well, it's awesome because the taco place we went to, it's just a picture of him on it. And I'm like, holy shit, is that Danny Trejo? I'm like, let's go check it out.
God. This guy has 378 IMDb credits.
Danny Trejo?
Just for acting.
I believe it. He's one of those guys that he just embraces it, and people.
I feel like he'll be in anything.
No, he will. Like I've seen him in some horrible B movies that were probably made for like $300, and 200 of it went to him.
Was one of them a Robert Rodriguez movie that's coming up called Machete Kills in Space?
It is now. Look at
I can't wait.
Look at all the announced post-production.
Yeah, that's quite a few.
Completed.
Zombie Bride. Donnie's
Christ.
Party. Jeez, this guy.
Danny Trejo is awesome, but I didn't realize he's this awesome.
He's pretty awesome.
Holy shit. He might have more credits than Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, that's the most I've ever seen, I think.
Well, Ennio Morricone might be up to 400, but I can't remember.
Well, I think the last one that I thought was the highest was Christopher Lee. But I just looked him up. He's got 281, so he's not even close.
Christopher Lee was a pussy, though.
What? You take that back.
Holy shit, I was wrong. Ennio Morricone has 518 credits.
Who?
He makes music, composer.
Well, that doesn't count.
Yeah, it does. Dude still has 500 credits, which is really a shame because he's made the music for like The Thing, The Untouchables, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, those were back in like the 70s and 80s where all you had to do is touch a couple piano keys and you had like the whole score for a whole movie.
No, but what the shame is, he's made like literally hundreds of memorable scores, but he's never been nominated for an Oscar until The Hateful Eight, and then he won the Oscar for it. Or he never won an Oscar. He got nominated for several Oscars.
Well, that's kind of weird.
But he never won an Oscar.
Trent Reznor was like on a movie, did the score for it for the first time ever, and did he win an Oscar for it? Oh, let me check. Oh yeah, he did. I didn't even have to check it.
Yeah, but one of us is talking about a good musician, and the other one is talking about a dude who makes garbage. So.
Oh, so you were talking about a garbage man because Trent Reznor is amazing. So.
Trent Reznor is pretty cool. Ennio Morricone, you suck. I hope you're listening to this. I am totally kidding. You are awesome.
Boom.
Now I feel
hope he didn't turn it off after the first sentence.
He's like, I don't even speak English. What did they say? And he turns it off.
It sounded really bad.
I heard my name, and I heard the word sucks. That means good in American, right?
It does now.
Ennio. Morricone. So anyways, what we're trying to say is From Dusk Till Dawn. It's a classic flick. Movie. It is a great movie.
And Harvey Keitel. We haven't even talked about Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel's
a different pace for him than his usual. He was the fatherly figure. Kind of a puss.
So, funny story about Harvey Keitel, and it involves Dad again. He called me up one day, and he goes...
Harvey Keitel did?
No, unfortunately, it was just Dad. He's like, this is your father speaking. And he asked me, he's like, yeah, you remember that character from Pulp Fiction that Harvey Keitel plays? And I'm like, what? And he's like, you know, the guy that gets things done. You call him when you need something to get fixed or get done. I'm like,
the Wolf.
Yeah, and I was like, the Wolf? And he's like, yeah, that's it. He's like, you see, I'm going to have a conversation tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking to somebody, and I want to use that as a reference in the conversation. I'm like, are you planning your conversations a day ahead?
So and then he was asking for your permission for it?
No, he was asking for help to remember the reference to Pulp Fiction. Because he couldn't remember the character's name. He's like, call me the Wolf.
I don't think he actually said that in the movie.
No, he doesn't, but he wanted to tell whoever, like, consider me Harvey Keitel's character, the Wolf from Pulp Fiction. I don't know how the hell he brought it up.
What was Dad cleaning up?
Probably a dead body.
Doubt it.
Or maybe he was cleaning up the sequels to From Dusk Till Dawn.
Boom. Ayo.
Roasted. Anyways, let's see what Brad gave From Dusk Till Dawn. Let's look it up right here. I'm just making it up, pretending like I'm looking at it. It looks like Brad actually gave... Whoa. Oh, no, I looked at it wrong. I thought it said 1 out of 10. I was like, there's no fucking way. No, it looks like Brad actually gave From Dusk Till Dawn a 10 out of 10. And he said, this movie scared me as a child, but not as an adult. Good for you.
Huh.
Yeah,
it's a little strange.
I feel like we need to tell him that he can submit more than just like one sentence or paraphrased little snippets of ideas and thoughts. Like, he can send in a paragraph. I don't really care.
I mean, he could, but
I don't want to read it.
Burned.
So next, I'm gonna do a little introduction for this movie, and we're gonna move on to a movie. I'm not even gonna name it yet, but I think we'll be able to figure it out. God damn it!
Michael's great. I like Michael. This is Michael.
Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael.
It's blood.
Yeah. Michael.
Honestly, that's the only reason why I wanted to do this movie was to
Did
share that.
did somebody say my name?
I believe so.
I dig it.
It's just a super cut for every time they say Michael from the Lost Boys.
They do say it a lot.
They do. Michael.
They all said it like a different way too, but they say it the same way every time. It's kind of weird, especially watching the movie.
Michael. Michael. But I'm gonna try to find the best one. Damn it, they don't have it. So, did you ever watch Lost?
Yes, unfortunately, I did get through that series.
So you remember when Jin is really angry at Michael because he thinks he's fooling around with his wife, and he goes, Micah?
Yep.
I was trying to find that, but they don't have a clip of it. Micah?
I do vaguely remember that, yes.
It's probably the best line in the show. Micah? But anyways, let's move on to Joel Schumacher's classic, The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys.
I do really like this movie, but at the same time, it's a really cringy movie to watch. Because of all the whole...
it's definitely an 80s movie.
Yes.
But it's an 80s movie that, like, hasn't caught up to the rest of the 80s.
It is very, very 80s. Especially the saxophone montage scene when they're at the concert. And just the whole theme song, Thou shalt not fall. It's just all got this 80s vibe to it. But I love it at the same time. This movie is...
it's pretty awesome.
It is classic. I just realized we didn't do Fright Night. Damn it. But anyways, yeah. What are your thoughts on Lost Boys?
I think it's really good. I think it has a lot of like big name actors, which is cool to see. You know, back in like the 80s, because it's like they weren't quite there yet. But I thought Kiefer Sutherland was awesome.
And you also
he was definitely badass as like the head vampire until you find out who the real like head vampire is.
Yeah, and that guy's kind of a dingus.
He's kind of a dingus, but he played like his, you know, kind of part well. Like you wouldn't suspect it the first time seeing the movie, even with the dog like barking at him and the kid trying to stab him with silver and shit like that. But
well, that's the cool thing that this movie does, is it tries to set up your expectations using the typical vampire tropes, like, oh, they can't see the reflection, they don't like garlic, stuff like that. And like you're saying, with that character, they try to throw you off because it's like, well, you invited me into your house, so the rules don't work, sort of thing. So that really does kind of like throw you off. He's like a red herring who ends up actually being the big vampire in the end. So he's like a double red herring.
yeah,
Which I thought was always kind of a little fun thing that they did. But I want to piggyback off of something that you were saying about the cast, because they do have a lot of like young up and coming actors and whatnot, and they also have actors who never went anywhere, like Alex Winter, who only made like a bunch of movies in the 80s and
what?
switched to directing later
Guy's
on in his career.
iconic.
Guy's iconic, but name something he did in the past 10 years without looking it up.
Don't need to, because I know that he did.
He did Robot Chicken. That's about it.
Yeah, but think about how much money like the guy had just off of Bill and Ted.
Probably
He
not
didn't
as
need
much
to
as
do
you think.
anything else. What does he need to do?
Bill and Ted Face the Music, obviously.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
That's gonna be amazing. Do you know the premise for the new Bill and Ted movie? Because it's one of the best premises for a movie I've ever seen.
No, I don't.
Okay. So it's two would-be rockers from San Dimas, California, were once told they'd save the universe during a time-traveling adventure, but find themselves as middle-aged dads still trying to crank out a hit song and fulfill their destiny. So basically,
It's gonna be stupid, but
No.
it's gonna be awesome.
They were told one day you're gonna make a masterpiece, but they weren't told when they were gonna make the masterpiece, so they still haven't done it. And now they're like, oh shit, man, we gotta crank out this masterpiece.
So it's basically gonna be like the Tenacious D movie, Pick a Destiny.
But not as good, but also better.
The same thing, but it looks like William Sadler is gonna be the Grim Reaper again, so that's awesome.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's on the IMDb. That's fantastic.
I didn't know he was. Yeah, there's only 3 people, and
Yeah, I
he's
just
one
saw
of
it. That's great, because he was so freaking funny. Like, damn it, you sunk my battleship.
them. Best 4 out of 7.
Yeah. Oh,
Best
man,
3
that was
out of
funny.
5. That is a great scene. That's a great movie. But anyways,
Look,
speaking of the Lost Boys.
yeah, Alex Winter.
Yeah, Alex Winter. He gets staked through the heart. Because he's the
Yep.
little vampire. They're in the cave and they're like, go after the little one. Why wouldn't you go
got,
after the biggest one?
Jason Patrick without a K. He's pretty cool. He was cool in that movie, Narc. I like that
Jason
movie.
Patrick.
He was in Speed 2. He was basically the new Keanu Reeves.
The Speedening.
I don't think that's what it was called.
I never
think he
saw
was in
Speed
Narc.
2,
Was he
and I
even in
never
Narc?
want to
Did
see
I just make that up?
it. Speed 2 is in the bottom rated movies, number 73 of all time.
That's too
Not
bad.
good. Speaking of Speed, though, the first time I ever watched that was on a bus to Missouri. Fun fact.
That's not good.
It was pretty cool, actually. Because our bus did not crash.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I like the little nerdy guys, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim. They all kind of like got into it and trying to figure out who was a vampire and reading their little comic books.
Or as,
And then yeah, everybody got fucking eaten at the end of the movie. Everybody died.
as John Malkovich would call Corey Haim, Corey Haim.
I don't know if he would actually do that. He probably would, but
Sounds like something John Malkovich would do. Did you ever see Being John Malkovich?
I did a very long time ago.
That was an amazing movie.
It's pretty awesome.
Just the whole premise of it too. You're just like, who came up with that idea? And then you look and you see, oh, Charlie Kaufman came up with that idea. And then
Yep.
it all kind of makes sense. Because Charlie
Directed
Kaufman,
by Spike Jones.
yeah. Have you know who Charlie Kaufman is, right? He made
Yeah,
like
he's
Eternal
the
Sunshine.
weird comedian guy who did like weird shit. He was the premise of Man on the Moon or whatever it was called with Jim Carrey.
Yes. He made some really, really weird movies. But some great movies at the same time. Like
Well, he just like
adaptation.
did some really, really weird stuff too. Like it's not even just his movies. It's like the dude's done some weird stuff before.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Lost Boys. Good flick.
Yep.
Should go
Good
check
flick.
it out.
I'd watch it again.
Let's see what Brad had to say about it. Looks like he gave it a 10 out of 10. He said, I bet Michael liked this one. And then he said, ha ha, ha, ha 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 ha.
I mean, that was almost a paragraph.
He needs a couple more ha's for that one. But high five, because we've made it through the movies we were scheduled to talk about, but I know you want to bring up some other movies, like, those shitty Underworld movies and the The stupid Blade movies and
First of all, I only want to bring up the first one because the first Underworld movie is awesome.
Rise of the Lycans.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool too. And the Blade trilogy is fantastic. Best movies that Wesley Snipes ever been in.
I agree. Blade 1 and 2 were great movies. It would be cool
Blade 3
if they ever
freaking
made a
phenomenal.
third one. It would be cool if they ever made a third Blade movie.
Name one other movie that is worth watching that has Hunter Hearst Helmsley in it. Go
7.
ahead. I'll wait.
7.
Because it doesn't exist. This movie has Ryan Reynolds. It was directed by David S. Goyer. I mean, what is not to like about this movie?
Yeah,
Please,
I love Deadpool.
Please tell me. Go ahead. Tell me. I'll wait. John Michael Higgins is in it.
I'll give you one thing. Blade 3 is better than the new Hellboy movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but it looks bad. It looks bad.
Which is a big shame because it's directed by Neil Marshall, and I really like Neil Marshall's movies. But yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it just doesn't, like, even the trailers and stuff, it just doesn't look good. It's like they tried to make it exactly like Guillermo del Toro's, but they had, like, none of the creativity and double the budget.
When I wonder how much of that was the studio's input and...
Well, probably most of it, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, someone has to step in and be like, are we making the same movie, or should we kind of try and do our own thing?
So, this is...
Yeah, it was bad. It
this
looks
is
stupid.
completely off topic, but I've been watching the new episodes of Game of Thrones, and you're talking about people stepping in and saying, hey, maybe we should tell this person it's a bad idea to do this. Well, recently, Game of Thrones has kind of fluctuated in its quality, and on the new season, they actually brought on George Lucas on set, and George Lucas was walking around and, you know, just seeing how they make the show and talking to everybody, and it kind of made me realize maybe it's George Lucas's fault. He's come onto the set, and now he's just kind of like bleeding his horribleness into the filmmaking process of it. Because I don't know if you ever watched the behind the scenes for the prequels of Star Wars. That dude was... nobody wanted to question him because they all thought he had this vision and he was a genius, even though most people were saying, like, hey, George, you know, you went from this very sad, emotional scene, and about 3 lines later, you're trying to deliver lines from Jar Jar Binks and make it all silly and goofy, and they're like, those tonal shifts aren't going to be picked up very well.
No, it's okay because we star wiped.
But George
To the
Lucas,
next scene.
you realize by jumping around in these different tones that people are just going to be confused. They're not going to know what you're doing.
No,
Well,
because we star wiped, so that's like a reset of people's minds. So we'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll just, wipe to the next screen. That's how that works.
In his words, he went on to say, well, you see, Jar Jar Binks is there for the comic relief, so the children know that you don't have to be that sad during the scene. In other words, it turns into a clusterfuck.
Yeah, that poor guy.
What were we talking about? Blade? How
Blade
did we
Trinity.
go from Blade to George Lucas making shitty movies and affecting Game of Thrones?
I think we were talking about something, and then we started talking about
Oh,
another
yeah.
thing, and then, like...
Neil Marshall. And Neil Marshall directed some episodes of Game of Thrones, and he just made a shitty movie, and I was saying, yeah, it's probably the studio's fault, and you're like, it's gotta be somebody's fault. And then I was like, sure.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Daybreakers yet.
No, not yet. I was going to save that as an added surprise, but thanks for...
Oh, surprise.
We'll talk about
Daybreakers? Yeah.
Daybreakers. I actually wasn't saving it for a surprise. I didn't watch this one, but I have...
What?
No, but I've seen it dozens of
Seen it?
times, so I'm... And I wrote
You
an
know
article
what I've
about
seen
it.
dozens
so
of times?
30 Days a Night?
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh my god, you need to see it.
But
It's
I
so
know
good.
Liam Neeson is in it.
Liam Neeson's?
Yeah.
Yes, he definitely is. And it's amazing. It's a Mel Brooks movie. You have to see it.
Liam Neeson's not in it.
Leslie Nielsen is in it.
Yeah, I know, that's the joke.
It's like basically the same guy.
I would agree with that.
I would disagree with that. What else were we talking about? Yeah, Daybreakers. Daybreakers is great. Gotta see it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you've already seen it, see it again. If you've already seen it twice, I don't know. Fucking do whatever you want.
Daybreakers is probably one of my favorite vampire movies of the past decade. And it's directed by the Spierig brothers.
Ooh,
Spierig?
it's pretty soon. You're not even going to be able to say that.
I know. Give it just like a couple more months. But, yeah, I love this movie. And I love the aesthetic of it and the kind of world that they create with those weird, like, mutated vampires who are suffering from lack of blood. So they kind of start to cannibalize and become, like, desperate, like, kind of driven off of pure instinct to just, like, feed off of anything they can. And I like that whole world that they built around that. And the kind of social classes that they've put a commentary on with, like, the rich and the poor and the people who can afford blood and those that can't and whatnot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely a movie that I don't think I've ever heard or seen that side of the story, like where it gets to that point that there's, you know, the vampires outnumber the humans and stuff like that. So it was really cool and like refreshing because it was very unique. It was a original story that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and kind of a shame because the Spierig brothers really haven't made a good movie outside of this.
Yeah, Predestination was pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I never watched that, but I did hear that was pretty cool. But, like...
It's definitely a good movie, worth watching. And I haven't seen Undead in a really long time, but I think
remember
that's
not
kind of like
liking
a bad, just gore-fest movie. But
Yeah.
Predestination was surprisingly really good.
I did want to see that, but I'm talking about, like, Jigsaw. They got that, and I think
Yeah,
they
I
did...
still haven't seen it, but I heard it was really bad.
I think they did that movie just so they can do whatever Winchester movie was. I haven't seen Winchester, so I can't really say anything about it, but I heard horrible things about it.
Yeah.
I do want to see it just for myself, because I like the Spierig brothers mostly just because of Daybreakers, because they only made 5 movies. And apparently 2 of them, of the 5 that I've seen, I don't like, but 1 of the 5 I do like. Huh. Yet I really
Well, you should
like
definitely
them.
see Predestination, because that movie's awesome.
I will one of these days.
Yeah, Winchester, I don't even think I've ever heard of that. Oh, it just came out last year, too.
Yeah, it was in theaters for a couple months, but it didn't do very well, and everybody kind of said it was garbage.
Yeah, I heard Jigsaw was bad. I still want to
It
see
was.
it, but I heard it was bad.
I wouldn't even say go watch it. It's like one of the Saw movies where they have a bunch of great setups for traps, and then instead of using those traps, they just have somebody get injected with poison, and then they die. Or they don't show some of the kills. They just show the aftermath.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, it kind of takes away the whole
Wait, was
point
that
of
one
the
that they tried to
Saw
make
movies.
PG-13 or something?
No, this is far from... There's still some cool moments to it. Like somebody's head gets split open like a Venus flytrap or something. Like there's some cool shit to it. It's just for a Saw movie, it was very tame, and that's the only reason why we go to see the Saw movies is for the over the top gore effects and whatnot. We don't go for the story. The story's the worst part of the Saw movies, other than
I
the
always
first one.
went and saw them for the story.
I did not.
See gore.
After the second one, because the first 2 Saw movies were actually really cool, and I thought their stories were good and had good twists, and then they just started focusing more on the gore, and the stories were just horrible, so I
Yeah,
just
but then it
went to see
picked
the
back
effects.
up. Like, I want to say Saw 5 or 6. I don't remember which
6.
one, but one of those was really good.
No, 6 is the one when he has the insurance guy going through, and he has to choose which coworkers he wants to live and die and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty decent. Number 5 was god awful. That's the one when there's like a group of like 6 or 7 people, and they're supposed to be working together, and they don't find out till the end of the movie that they all could have lived if they would have just worked together more.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool too.
That one was pretty fucking terrible.
No, I thought it was pretty cool.
I think your opinion is wrong on that one.
Well, what else is new? Boom. Deal with it.
Would you say that Saw 5 is your favorite of the past decade?
No.
Because it
That
came out
didn't even
11
come
years
out.
ago.
It's like, what are you talking about?
I almost got you. Anyways. So that was...
Yeah, and then one of my other favorite vampire movies, Dracula Untold, the movie nobody's ever seen. Movie's great.
I wish you
Fantastic.
could untell
It's
me
the
about
story
that
that
one.
nobody's ever told. So it's like fresh.
Did you see what I did there?
What? I didn't listen. I
I
spoke over you.
said, I wish you could untell me about that shitty movie.
What? Have you even ever seen it?
Nope.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Is it
I'm
better
telling
than...
you right now, if you saw that movie, you'd be like, wow, that was actually pretty cool.
Would you say it's better than Hansel and Gretel from Tommy Vercoli? Or Vercola?
In a different way, yes, because I actually thought that movie was kind of cool.
What, Hansel and Gretel?
There was like so much shit in that movie going on, just people blowing up.
Yeah, the movie's awesome.
I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
saying
great.
anything bad about it. It's directed by the guy that made the Dead Snow movies. He's a Norwegian director.
See, I haven't watched that yet. I still have it.
You need to watch Dead Snow 1 just so you can
Yeah.
watch Dead Snow 2.
That sounds like the right way to do it.
Do you know who Martin Starr is?
Yes.
He's in Dead Snow 2. Him and these 2 girls run a zombie fighting like apocalypse ad in America, and they're the only English speaking characters in the movie. And they get a call from somebody in Norway who's like, "Hey, there's a bunch of zombies out here, and they're Nazi zombies." And Martin Starr's like, "Whoa, guys, this is not a drill. Like, this is the real thing. We're really gonna go fight some zombies." Like, but they think it's just a hoax or like a game or something. And then they get there and it's like, oh shit, it's actually like real zombies. And they get in a bunch of shenanigans. And what can I say? It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Martin Starr is most well known for his role in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
What?
Nothing else.
You mean Freaks and Geeks? Second
Nope.
time that's come up. Silicon
Definitely
Valley?
means Spider-Man: Homecoming, and nothing else.
Silicon Valley? He was just in Game of Thrones. He gets killed in that.
And nothing else.
Have you seen Silicon Valley?
No.
Because that show's pretty fucking hilarious.
I don't listen to hip-hop.
Brad's been trying to get me to watch it for years, and I kept saying, "You don't know what you're talking about, you're dumb," and I would slap him. And eventually I took his advice, and I actually checked it out, and it's made by Mike Judge, and it is goddamn hilarious.
Mike Judge, he did Ren and Stimpy.
What?
What?
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Made you look.
No,
That's
you
funny.
didn't. I'm looking
I
it
like
up
that.
now, though.
That's funny.
But no, he made Office Space, Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, Extract. Bunch of
Extract,
shit.
that movie sucked.
That movie is hilarious.
That was terrible. It was worse than Idiocracy.
How about this? To pay for the damages to my client, how about you stand in this doorway, stick your balls there, and let me crush them, just like you crushed his balls. You don't
Yep.
remember that? No?
No, I don't.
Then you're stupid. Learn
That's
how
fine.
to watch good movies.
I do watch good movies all the time, like Dracula Untold.
Or Daybreakers. And it looks like Brad didn't give it a score because we weren't going to do this movie. But Brad did, entertain the crowd for like 2 seconds.
So, stuff happened, and then other things went around over to the stuff. I don't know. Whatever. Talk amongst yourselves. Entertain yourselves.
I would
Are
say
you not entertained?
that was one of the worst ways to eat up time.
Gladiator.
Brad did send in his review for a movie. I don't think he knew we were doing vampire movies, though.
Well, this is going to be awkward.
Hey, Brad, tell us what you think about Ghostbusters.
10 out of 10. Bill Murray at his finest.
There you go. His review for Ghostbusters.
Didn't he call it Ghostbusters 2?
Ooh, let me double check because I have another video.
I'm pretty sure he called
Brad,
it
what do you think about Ghostbusters from 2016?
Is that Ghostbusters 2? 10 out of 10.
Oh, there it is.
It's so dumb.
There you go. He thought that one was also a 10 out of 10.
No, he thought it was Ghostbusters 2. As if there wasn't already a Ghostbusters 2.
We don't hire Brad for his intelligence. We hire him for his reviews. And you know what? He gave us a review, and he tried his hardest, and that's all we can ask.
That's fair.
Thank you for joining us, everybody, on our vampire episode of the What's in the Pod podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you stuck with us, because I don't think we really talked about the movies very much this week.
Are we ever going to figure out what is in the pod?
It's Gwyneth Paltrow's head. We've been over this quite a lot. Thanks for joining us.
What's in our pod?
Bye-bye.